A very good morning to all our viewers, and it's the 1st of October 2015 and you meet us on yet another edition of Newsline. A brand new month, and to start off that brand new month we've got a new guest here with us, Shamindra Ferdinand, who actually made an appearance before on Newsline, and he's a deputy editor of The Island, and also we've got former diplomat and journalist Pamela Sekara here with us. Thank you so much for joining. What have we got
Are
today?
You ready for a newsy month? Or
yes, I am actually. I'm very excited about this month.
Yes. That's good. Now, let's start with Shamindra. Now, Shamindra, pot calling the kettle black. Right? So when this morning, I arrived here at 4 o'clock and then read the Daily News today. The Daily News editorial says, because we are very open about it, so I shall continue to be open and free and will criticize, and it will be constructive criticism. They talk about media freedom. And this editorial attacks TV stations, especially the private TV stations. Now, I have worked, and you know, I worked as the editor-in-chief of the Daily News for 1 year and 7 months. I was once abused in raw filth by the then media minister on Rayappa, which I very gladly returned it back, the compliments. And then again, twice this happened to me. But I have also worked in the private sector. The freedom the private sector gives you is you cannot compare with the state media. Can they even think of writing editorial like this?
Bandula, it's like this. You must realize when you join the state media, you have to take orders from the government in power. That's the truth. You served as the editor there, so I'm sure you have realized that you have to take certain orders, instructions from the government in power. That's the reality. That is the ground reality. Similarly, as a person working for the private sector, we also take orders. That's the truth.
Yeah.
We take orders, instructions and advice from the management and the government in power.
Yeah, but something that happens everywhere. But here they talk of freedom, right? But that freedom is not there in the government sector.
Certainly, freedom is a joke. I'm telling you, there's no media freedom. Not only here, you take any other country, the media is controlled by the government, the opposition. We realize how the opposition controlled the media a few months back, how the UNP led political grouping, how they control the media. So, I must be frank, Bandula, there's no media freedom. All of us work under tremendous pressure. There are restrictions.
But Shamindra, my thing is a comparison where the state media, now there is its owners on the state media, it's by people's money. The private sector is different. These are the people's, the public funds. But so you cannot preach, because I'm talking through experience, my experience. The freedom I get, that I have worked with you, and I've worked in several places, you don't get it. And then it's preaching. Now this editorial is mainly attacking the private sector, and especially the TV stations, which we are not offended, but then let's speak the truth, right to information. That is what I'm saying. Okay, we have a Esman Wickramasinghe lecture, that is what is wrong here.
Yes, the state media always, both print and electronic, they change their position in accordance with the dictates of the government in power. That's the truth. Now, that's why all of a sudden we see the state media reporting on the coverage in Geneva or the LTT. They have changed. Now, last week we saw the Global Tamil Forum, which is a banned organization in this country and overseas, appeared on state troop warning. That's the truth. So, those who join the state media have no option but to work with the government in power.
Yeah, also Shami, now what I'm trying to say is we are not trying to blow our trumpet here, but I don't think the recent past that no institution like CIRUS or MTV or Shakti had been harassed. No, we were attacked several times than any other, because
by the previous government.
Yeah, the previous government. No,
yes.
but also let's not forget, both sides, right, for being honest, being upfront, being forthright, for taking sides of people. I'm saying the opposition also, we have, I don't want to name names,
yes,
but that has happened.
No.
That's because of the freedom we get.
Actually, Bandula, I must tell you, the previous government, the former government paid a very heavy price for allowing a section of the previous government, the UPFA, to harass CIRUS. That's the truth, no.
Yeah.
So you went all out against the government. That's why the previous government refused to appear on certain serious programs. And they suffered heavily. Right? So,
finally they paid the price, like you said.
Heavy price. At the end, Syriza supported the opposition campaign against the government. You cannot blame Syriza because the former government refused to appear on serious programs.
I would correct you. I would say not that we supported, we stood by the people. We stood by the people. So that was, finally it was a people's verdict. I'm saying it's a people's verdict. So we stood by the people. That is what I'm saying. I'm not trying to justify anything. I'm trying to say because finally it's the people who decide. We go to the people, we tell our story, people who decide.
I must tell you, you take the British media, certain newspapers very openly, very publicly, they say they support this political party. So I believe there's nothing wrong in a particular media organization, the private sector, supporting a political party. It's happening in the UK.
No, but here the joke is on when you write, the whole thing started with this editorial. So that is what is laughable. Yes. That is the joke here.
Actually, Ram, I remember when he was here, a veteran journalist, we admire him. But I remember a few years ago, I'm sure you can also remember that incident, in Colombo, he strongly criticized the former defense secretary. Strongly criticized. He said former President Rajapaksa had suffered heavily due to the actions of the former defense secretary. The former defense secretary, as well as I know, as far as the people of this country know, he played a very important role in Sri Lanka's victory over the LTT. That's the truth. But Ram, for some reason, he decided to attack him.
That's his right. Yes. That's his right. Yes. He exercises his right. So everybody has the right. So that is what we need, the freedom.
Yes,
freedom definitely. To express, freedom to be criticized, but we say constructive.
Yes,
definitely. But not that I'm pushing this because the whole thing started. We had some other questions to ask you. Because I have experienced not once, twice the harassment. So that's what I agreed. To say serve them during the honeymoon period, because once a honeymoon goes, there was no influence at that time. But then this is what, because the minister's photograph was not published or his name was said, that was the issue. So that shows the petty mindedness, whereas the private sector, even private sector, not only media institution, doesn't have that. That is why the private sector is doing well. Because these are this is where lean, thin organizations doing very well and going to the people and speaking behalf of the people.
Yes.
That is what I really want to tell our viewers. So now let's move to Geneva. Right now, the Human Rights Commissioner, right? He still talks of a hybrid court. That's what it was, a very strong statement he issued.
Yes.
But what do we expect from that? And now we say something else.
The international community has very clearly stressed that the Sri Lankan judiciary is not capable or has no capacity to investigate atrocities committed by the LTT and the former government during the war. So that is the position taken by the Geneva Council. So this government has no option but to accept that situation. Now if you see the statement made by Ambassador Ravinath Arya Singh 21st of September and yesterday, there's a huge difference. On 21st of September, he raised several issues and he went to the extent of saying that the resolution, the original resolution proposed by the US was not helpful. But yesterday, he very clearly said, he was articulating the position of the government of Sri Lanka. He said, we will cooperate, we will take your advice, we will take your instructions and help. So when you say help, we will take their funds also to investigate.
We'll comply, we'll agree.
I think we have no option.
And also the report says suddenly an international, court, the top international prosecutor from Japan is due this month. So what are we expecting? What are we in for?
We must realize, Bandula, although a lot of Sri Lankan political parties, Sri Lankan leaders consider Japan as a friend. Japan is a friend, there's no doubt about that. Japan will cooperate with US. They are friends. Because Japan is not going to jeopardize its partnership with America just to make this government happy. We must realize that. So Japan, South Korea, EU, all these countries or groups will cooperate with America. So that's the bottom line. So having said that, I believe this country should face this inquiry, whether it's hybrid court or a special court or whatever the investigative system, mechanism, we have to face this inquiry. So I think there's no point in opposing the setting up of this court or whatever. So it's up to the government of Sri Lanka and the previous party which was in power, former President Rajapaksa, his brother Gotabaya Rajapaksa, all these people get together and present Sri Lanka's case before this court.
Is it a victory or disaster waiting to happen?
I think if we handle this well, if we present our case well in this court, we should be able to convince the people of this country first that the Sri Lankan army did not kill 40,000 Tamil civilians on the Wani front. I think that should be our first aim, that we did not kill 40,000 people.
But yesterday I had the opportunity of meeting some high-ranking officers from the forces, I mean in a very private at a function, and they were saying that they had a good meeting with Prime Minister Wickremesinghe, and he had given assurance that they had their questions. Will their children, will their wives, will be harassed, can they go abroad? So they felt very comfortable with the assurance, these are people who was in this the front lines,
yes,
and that they, with the assurance of the Prime Minister, that they will be taken care of and there won't be issues. So they were feeling very comfortable,
yes,
about it.
Bandula, the US imposed restrictions on our armed forces a few years back. They deprived Major General Shavindra Silva of an opportunity to join Staff College in USA a few years back. That's why he had to shift from there to India, because the US felt that he should not be given that chance. So already restrictions are there. It's already there. So if you read the recommendations made by the Geneva report, they have made a series of recommendations. They have talked about the need to reduce the size of our armed forces, withdraw from certain areas. Have they got any
business to make such recommendations?
Absolutely not. I mean, the size of the armed forces of this country or any other country must be decided by the government, not by the international community. But the recommendations are there, so we have to.
Yeah, that's only a mere recommendation. It's up to us to take it or leave it.
But you must realize that the international community has given, I believe, certain promises to the diaspora community. So they are also struggling.
Diaspora, these are their voters, the vote base.
Vote base. So I'm sure you are aware of the former British Foreign Secretary and the French counterpart coming here. Yeah. You were there at that time. Yeah. So subsequently, WikiLeaks revealed that they were here because of the impending UK elections. Miliband had no option.
Yeah, but but again, now coming back now, so then I told you about the assurance which Prime Minister had given these people. Then what happens? Now you say they were deprived. I know some people are not allowed to go to different countries.
Yes.
You think this will change? But they seem to be very happy and comfortable with the assurances given by the Prime Minister.
I strongly believe this country should face this investigation. There's no doubt about it. We have to face this investigation, whether it's hybrid or international or domestic. With international participation, this country will have to face this investigation. We must produce evidence before this court. We have to fight it out, because see, now they say,
otherwise this will go on and on to haunt us.
Definitely. We must be able to, I mean, this country, as the president of this country, Mr. Sirisena, pointed out in New York yesterday, that we eradicated one of the most ruthless terrorist organizations in the world. That achievement, it was an achievement for the former president, Mahinda Rajapaksa, his brother, Gotabaya Rajapaksa, former Army Commander General Sarath Fonseca, and the entire team, the people of this country, right? So we have to tell the truth, because if you read President Maithripala Sirisena's statement carefully, there's a section, that sentence reflected the situation in this country. He very clearly said that we are facing a problem. We are facing a problem. So to overcome this problem, I believe that we have to face this investigation.
Stephanie has a question.
Yeah, and also the announcement that Sri Lanka will be co-sponsoring the resolution came in following the informal session last week. And does that mean that the government blindly accepted the terms that was put forth by the US government?
I don't think so.
Because if they are now saying that they could go into a hybrid court investigation, earlier they said that the language was changed. What's that confusion surrounding this whole thing?
We must realize that they will never have faith in a total exclusive domestic mechanism. So whether it's hybrid, joint, whatever the system we have, this country will have to accept this reality. That's the reality. That's the reality. Because, see, people talk against America, people criticize America, but do they know that American intelligence helped the former government to destroy 4 LTT ships? They gave us weapons, they gave us a lot of help, a tremendous amount of US help, helped the former government to defeat the LTT.
No, I would put it, say that help Sri Lanka. Now what I think is, what is important is that for us to be very open, because it's good to have open discussion and thrash it out.
Yeah.
Because we have to go ahead as a country. If we have to, see, this country, we should learn to say sorry. We should learn to say sorry. It's very difficult for our people to say sorry. And or if we cannot, we should say we cannot. That culture, the whole thing has to change. I mean, that is what is important for us to proceed. We are thinking of the future generation. That is important, because that openness is lacking in our society. So to go and face it, because if you are very open or direct, they think, you're bad. That's what I think has to change in this country.
Yes, I totally agree with you. Having said that, the accountability, I think the accountability, all are demanding accountability on the part of the Sinhalese and the government. What about the Tamil community? Aren't they accountable for this situation? What about India? Aren't they accountable for this situation? Right? So, if we talk about accountability, I think this court will give us an opportunity to present our case. How this started.
But Samindra, I need to say that, because which I am a firm believer in the Sri Lankan identity. We have to go as Sri Lankan. Whether, if you look back, the former president, said, Mahinda Rajapaksa said, whether it was Prabhakaran, whatever, they're all Sri Lankans. So this is really what also creating a lot of problem, because if you don't have the Sri Lankan identity, because if you look at it, the LTT killed more Sri Lankan Tamil leaders than anybody else.
Yes.
So this is what is important. The international community should look at as Sri Lanka. This Sri Lanka is not to see, then only we cannot reconcile or go for reconciliation if not for that.
Actually, Bandula, the total number of Sri Lankan Tamils killed by the LTT and 5 other Tamil terrorist groups, plus the Indian army during its deployment in Sri Lanka, far more than the number of people killed by the Sri Lankan armed forces. But do they admit that? Never. The Tamil National Alliance, which recognize the LTT as the sole representatives of the Tamil-speaking people, will never accept that they did anything wrong. Now, if former President Rajapaksa is accountable for giving political leadership to the government of Sri Lanka during that time, what about the TNA? What about Mr. Sambandan, who is the opposition leader today? Now, partly Champika Ranawaka, last week during a press conference, he very clearly said, the TNA is responsible. He said that TNA was able to get control of the Northern Provincial Council because the armed forces destroyed the LTT.
Yeah, so
that's the truth.
That is what I think we should go openly with open hands and have this open discussion. But
yes.
what sort of hurts or bleeds is that we need the Sri Lankan and we have to go as Sri Lanka. It's time we forget this Sinhala, Tamil, Muslim, Malay burger. We have to stand as Sri Lankans, because this affects our country, be it the north or the south. That is what is affected. It's our future.
Bandula, I totally agree with you. But you must realize that Tamil-speaking people must also respond. So, now see, if somebody talks for the Sinhalese, he's a racist, no? if I represent the interests of the Sinhala community, of Sinhala Buddhists, then I'll be branded as a racist. But unfortunately, when some organization, when some Tamil politicians speak for their community, they are heroes.
Right. So, no, in fact, now what about the aid from the international community? Now, see, international community had been playing a role.
Yes.
Then and even now.
Yes. So, actually, the previous government invited an international advisory panel to assist the Paranagama Commission. So, they were invited and they...
And why are we hiding the Paranagama Commission report? Why aren't we forward?
Those, a section of the society with senior citizens, people like Mr. Jayant Dajrika, Professor Rajiv Singh, they have requested the government, they repeatedly urged the government to submit that report to Geneva, but the government did not take notice of it.
Why?
I really don't know, Bandula. I don't know. I really don't know.
Because you check with your intelligence,
no, see, a report is not going to make any difference. That report, I must tell you, is not going to make any difference in Geneva. Because they have decided a long time ago that this country must face an international inquiry. But with the latest situation, we see even the Global Tamil Forum, which had been demanding an international inquiry today, they are ready to sit here. They are ready to return to Sri Lanka and face this inquiry, right? So I think it's an opportunity for Sri Lankans, for the former government and this government to present Sri Lanka's case. They must not, as you said, think in the lines of the SLP, the UPFA or UNP. It's the government of Sri Lanka, the Sri Lankans.
But are we working well with the international community?
And the international community actually aided us during the war. They helped us win the war. But does that mean that, now there's a lot of rejection coming from the international community? The reason behind this?
No, I would say that with the present government, they are reaching out to the international community. I mean, that's important. That is diplomacy. You have to have good relations. You cannot do firefighting.
Bandula, this government does not face the LTT, so this government has no problem there.
That makes it easy for them to handle this. That's what I say.
No, that's why. For this government, I strongly believe we must face this inquiry. So this government is right. But you must realize the problem earlier was the international community, although they gave us certain arms and support, they never expected, they never wanted the Sri Lankan government to totally defeat the LTT.
Yeah, but they also supported us. We suffered for 30 long years. I still remember former President Chandrika Kumartunga going after 9/11 to the UN and said, now you know what happened, what we faced, and she said that. And also, I must also commend her, because when she became the president, she said sorry for 83 riots, even though she was not responsible. So, but I still say, Shamini, it's very important to be open, because if we have wounds, all these have to heal. Otherwise, this country, we cannot move on.
There's no dispute over that. We must be open. We must face this inquiry. So, now it's in the open, so we have an opportunity to present our case. And those who suffered during the war, the Tamil people, the Muslim people, all of them, I think they can also come before this court.
Yeah, but now see there is a question, that our viewers also saying it says that the international community aided us in the war, the terrorism between them, right? But now there is a lot of opposition. I think we asked that.
Yes, the international Bandula, many countries, including India, provided us a tremendous amount of help. But the actual fighting on the ground was done by the Sri Lankan Armed Forces. The army lost over 6,000 men during 3 years. That's from August 2006 to May 2009. So the army paid a huge price. So whatever the armaments given by the foreign governments, at the end of the day, the bottom line is the actual fighting was conducted by the Sri Lankan Armed Forces.
But I think, Shaminda, I also served as a diplomat then, but I think we should have still worked together. Okay, we fight battles in two fronts. Okay, there the propaganda war, the diplomacy.
Yes.
I think sometimes, certain times we had to take a hard stand, but what happened is that diplomatic war also we should have worked together in a different way. This is where I think we went wrong.
I think you are wrong, Bandula.
Right.
If we gave in to them, the former president had to stop the offensive. And the international...
No, I'm saying this way. By a dialogue, see, if we talk to each other, even the worst person, if you can talk to them, things happen. This is what I'm saying. We need to engage.
So when the US got to know about Bin Laden, he was killed. His body was taken away. It was just simply taken away. So, similarly, they demanded one thing, stop the offensive on the One East front.
Did the US say that?
All of them, they were ready to evacuate senior LTT cadres, which the previous government did not want to do. And I think, I'm really glad that we refused to take their orders and we finished this war.
I think, Stephanie, the time is up.
Yes, the time is up, actually. Deputy Editor of The Island, thank you very much for joining us on this edition of Newsline. And we'll meet you tomorrow on yet another edition.
We'll be joined by Dinesh Gunawardena, Member of Parliament and the leader of the Mahajan Exat Peramuna.
That's right. So
UPFA
a new guest tomorrow on Newsline, and we'll meet you again. And in the meantime, you can keep abreast with everything that's happening here at News First by simply logging on to our website www.newsfirst.lk, and you can also follow us. Our Twitter handle is at newsfirst_en. Until we meet again tomorrow, take care.